na 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 na. Hey hey hey, goodbye. Na 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 na. Hey hey hey, goodbye. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District on a monumentous, great, absolutely amazing occasion as Dan Snyder has officially sold the Washington Commanders here on your daily Commanders update for 20 July of 2023. Stoner,
yes,
what's your initial reaction here for Josh Harris to take over?
Real quick before we get to our guest, it's just hope. That's the biggest thing. That's what we've wanted for years and years and years. We finally have some hope that things can change and are going to change. And we've seen many signs of it already in only just a couple hours that he's been owner.
Yeah, I mean, he's buying beers and drinks for people who are celebrating down in DC. I tell you what, I was actually a little surprised. I thought I'd be just absolute in jubilation, right? Just celebrating and having a great time. And I find myself almost a little somber.
Yeah.
I think it's just that black cloud has been lifted and we're finally past this moment. And we're like you said, we have this avenue for hope and things are changing. And I think that's exciting. And to get us to that point, a lot of things have happened and we've been following and bringing to you our man, AJ Perez, who's been, very, willing to come on and give us his time. And so let's bring him in because he was there at ground zero today. So let's
I'm sorry.
A little applause for you.
Sorry,
you get the long one. Yeah,
the long applause.
Yeah, sorry. My last media hit, Josh Harris came up and shook my hand. So I don't think that's gonna. I think he's long gone now. So I don't think we'll get that.
So we're just second fiddle here. We get the scraps. We don't get the Josh Harris handshake.
Well, I didn't put him on the air.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we do appreciate you, AJ, for coming on. Like I said, we've been following you and we've had you on a couple of times and we've been telling people like you have got everything and you've been really good with front office sports, getting that information. You're in Minneapolis right now. We saw you walk out of the media room there. What was the atmosphere in Minneapolis today as the owners were meeting and everything?
There goes Nikki. It was okay. I'm not going to say which insider it was, but an NFL insider got us going. We were like, I was standing around 3.5 hours. Like, come on, let's finish this up. Like, looks like it'll be a little bit longer. And then one of my sources says it's done, and I'm like, God dang! And it's like, but then, yeah. So I was like, oh man, and then it wrapped up quick. I did not expect the Mary Jo White report to come out this quickly, which was kind of disappointing. And I really wanted to review and ask the questions I wanted to ask. And I'm sitting in the press conference. I was listening to Josh Harris. I had my recorder. I had 2 recorders going just in case. But I was really looking to ask more poignant questions, and I actually got some more on background for my story that just went up. But it's it was for me it was. I have a huge feature going this weekend on this, and I was really hoping to write it on the plane home, which I will be able to. And it's over. And now, like you guys mentioned before we started, I get to go to the airport and have a beer, and it's like, this has been a journey. It's been probably the longest running scandal or set of scandals I've ever covered. I get to pivot to something else next week, which is going to be pretty awesome. I'm glad. And it was a little longer today than I expected, but I knew it would get done. And I knew, they don't fly the owners here. And one indication, about 30 minutes before we got the final indication that the vote had happened and it was unanimous. The fancy cars that these the owners come here from the airport and started lining up. I'm like, we can't be that far off. It was, the fine of Snyder. Me get into that was, it was to be expected, and I knew they weren't going to knock, draft picks or anything else. That would just hobble, your new owner who just spent $6 billion and upped everybody's valuations for all their teams. They're not going to want to stick it to them.
Right. So, AJ, you mentioned that Josh Harris came over to you and introduced himself to you. What was kind of that vibe that you got in terms of what you think of him? Not necessarily how he's going to do as owner, but, as a businessman and relationship with the media.
he really talked in his press conference, which I listened to. I was there for, and then went back and listened to it again about half an hour ago. He's an area guy. A lot of this ownership, of like Rails and Ainz, they're local. They don't. Some of them don't live here anymore. Rails and Ainz do, but Harris grew up in Chevy Chase. He knows what the team was. He rattled off all those names. He knows what the team used to mean to this area, and he spent $6 billion on it with his 20 limited partners. And I think he talked about championships. He talked about something that really if Dan Snyder came out 3 years ago and talked about championships, he had no credibility, because we saw the 20 years before that, and nothing came close. And I think when you have somebody who already controls two sports franchises already, the Devils and Sixers, he comes in with the experience that Snyder did not. Snyder, we will never have an owner in their 30s ever buy an NFL team ever again because of Dan Snyder and all the mistakes he made early and continued to make throughout. And obviously, I don't. Sexually harassment was confirmed today. That it was, which he denied like everything else. And, Mary Jo White, confirmed it. And my story from March 2022, which got me really into this stuff about the revenues, was confirmed again today and led to that huge fine. And it's like in the denials and going after Jason Friedman like they did, Mary Jo White just bolstered Jason Friedman's lawsuit today with that one paragraph saying, despite the personal attacks on Friedman, he was, they're unfounded attacks, and that the team did hold back revenue, and we have a number, $11 million. Doesn't seem like a lot over 5-6 seasons, but that also implicates, now they have to go back to NFLPA for some reason. DeMaurice Smith, the old NFLPA head, I was asking questions from March of 2022, like, this is holding back player revenue. Why don't you do an audit? The NFLPA has rights to an audit. They didn't do their job. And now the league has to go to the PA. I'm like, well, we will you guys some money. So there's been mismanagement all around. And I think the second investigation, if Mary Jo White was hired the first time around, we would not have had Dan Snyder around the last 2 years. Goodell rehiring Beth after she got fired from by Dan Snyder gave him a say in that investigation. Yeah, he got a $10 million fine, but he probably should have lost the team at that point.
Yeah, that report's still not getting released. You mentioned the Mary Jo White report getting released. Of course, Dan Snyder being fined $60 million, 1% of what he's making off of the sale of this.
It's 0.01%.
0.01%. Yeah,
it's less than 1%.
It's a penny in this.
I ran the math, and you have to turn your iPhone sideways to get the billion. So yeah, it's 0.01%. So don't feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad for Snyder. He gets the record purchase price. He owes Bank of America about $1 billion, but $5 billion. I want to see what he does with it. I want to see him, commit to charity, some kind of thing. Now he's living in London, so it could be a London charity. I don't know. I don't know what
something.
I never want
what issues there are in the UK.
Again. That's my goal in life, is never to hear that man's name again. In fact, let's move past him and talk more about the future for what happens next with Josh Harris. Of course, his initial priorities, he says, is the football side, fan engagement, connecting with the community. We're seeing some of that right now with him buying drinks for people at the bullpen and the Old Ox Brewery and stuff. But what's really next for this franchise with Josh Harris coming into play?
You got to put some lipstick on FedEx, I guess, for the next few seasons. Improve the fan experience as much as you can. The metro is still going to be a mile away. It's still going to be traffic, but once they get inside those grounds, what can he do, without spending $1 billion, because that's you need money for a new stadium. What can you do for probably tens of millions of dollars to improve the fan experience? Does that mean lowering prices? Probably not. But what does it mean? What he needs to do something there. He's already looks like when Magic Johnson will be there the first day of training camp. A source told me. So they're going to trot out all these people that they have in this group to try to change things. And also, I reported a couple months ago that Johnson met with the governor of the state of Maryland. So they're already working towards the stadium. They're already lining things up, and I have a press release in my story from from that governor. So we're gonna see some things moving fairly quickly. Not the stadium, maybe not so much, but we're gonna maybe know within the next year where it's headed. And they'll play at FedEx. They'll extend that lease year to year or something if it runs out. But until that time, and when I was a kid, they did this. I kind of went through this with the Giants. Even I was a Dodger fan growing up in the Bay Area. The ownership, once the team didn't move to Tampa, they really improved what was Candlestick. It was 3Com at the time. And they made changes as much as they could in a very, very old stadium. Now, granted, it wasn't as old as FedEx. It's older than FedEx. FedEx is aged worse. But so you're going to see little things, hopefully not pipes bursting and sewage flowing onto fans and those kind of things. So I think they have to fix that first. There's so much neglect of this franchise, and that goes all over the franchise, not just stadium. It's every part. He may find out they're understaffed in certain parts. Maybe that's why when it's ticket sales and even these other departments, some of the departments are very bare bones and just got by. And that also allowed some of this conduct, like revenue being held back, to not be caught. That's another part of this. The accountability that Harris is going to bring in is going to be refreshing.
And AJ, you've been all over the story, and we've been saying it right from the jump. You've been all over the story, really from the beginning, since everything kind of came out just a few years ago. Do you think that it affected your perception of kind of the NFL and sports, or is this just kind of apropos of what goes on in these multi-billion-dollar corporations?
I learned a lot of the internal workings of the NFL that I did not know, and maybe that's not that I didn't care to know. I just never really, the NFL is the biggest league. We all know that as sports writers, so you kind of know where people are gonna focus on and know people care about the sport, and that's great. But it's also holding the people accountable. Including Goodell, who rehired Beth Wilkinson, and then started this, kind of delayed this whole process a couple of years. Goodell's not a lawyer. I think he thought he was doing what was best. Probably felt a little bad for Beth Wilkinson getting fired. But it's I actually was going through my cell phone today, and I realized about 3 or 4 months before Beth Wilkinson's report came out, I had texted Mary Jo White. She hadn't been hired. She wasn't going to be hired for another almost year. And I'm like, the people I've talked to on this story, the sources that I've gained from this story, and a lot of it's been consistent because I've been consistent. We all make a little mistakes. I thought it'd be like an hour today. I didn't think it'd be 3 plus, almost 4 hours. I didn't expect that. Those are that's one thing. But it's like, I was pretty consistent, thankfully, thanks to my editors and everybody who put trust in me, including the readers and you guys. This did build up. This was, being consistent on a story like this, a very complex story. When you have statements coming from the team that Rip you're reporting that is right, it's just like you have to have confidence, and I think a lot you guys and the readers, and fortunately being right pretty much every single time. I think every time. I don't remember anything being totally wrong. I got wrong. That showed me, and that showed me something as a journalist, and that I didn't really have at this point, because I cover so many different things. I'm an investigative reporter. I'm like, I do this for a couple of weeks, something else for a couple of weeks. This was I was on for almost 3 years.
Yeah, well, we appreciate all the work that you've put in, and we have absolute faith in the reporting that you've done. And thank you again for coming out here. My last question for you is, now that this is over, what are you celebrating with tonight?
I've got to go write a story on the way home. So it's going to be whatever light beer they got over at the airport near my terminal, I think, or near my gate. So yeah, I have to one more big feature. I don't know if it'd be anything groundbreaking, but you never know. On this, and then I have a big investigation which will hopefully run next week. Something totally different, not even a pro sports story. So that I hope that I've been working on for I've probably spent 80 hours over the last more than that, probably 100 hours over the last 6 days on. So it's been nonstop. So this is what I was working on even while I was here. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have to check that one out. Absolutely. Again, AJ, thanks for joining us. Dan Snyder's out the door. Josh Harris is the new owner of the Washington Commanders. And we thank AJ for bringing us all the information on the sale behind the scenes right there in Minneapolis today. Appreciate you. And this has been your Daily Commanders Update. And until next time.
Bye, Dan.
Be a fan.